Thank you for joining us at the Roundtable.
Brought to you by Community Education Arts, a nonprofit organization based in Noblesville, Indiana.
I'm Alys Caviness Gober, president of CEArts.
And I'm Sarah E. Morin, secretary of CEArts. Let's sit down at the Roundtable.
Welcome back as we continue our interview with writer and artist Alys Caviness Gober.
So tell us, Alys, just a little bit about your writing, or let's just say creative process.
Well, okay. If you're talking about writing, if it's memoirs or thoughts, then prose. That's a little different than with poetry. Well, is it? I don't know. Is it different? There's usually something I need to express. I mean, my own artwork business is called Creative Expressions Arts because I was trying to think of a arts. It's all the arts because I do everything except music. I'm not musically talented, but I'll do anything else artsy. Expressions, it's all about expressing, right? And it's all creative. So that was the name of my Creative Expressions Arts. And I put that together. Oh my gosh, that would have been, oh, it says 2021. Oh, this would have been in the 90s. I swear I started, calling my artwork Creative Expressions Arts. I've had that around for a long, long time. So I start always with a place of inspiration. Something has inspired me or triggered me or bothered me enough that I need to get it out. I need to get it out of in here, my head, my heart, my soul. I need to get it out onto paper or canvas or something. And so that's the beginning. And then if it's a painting, like I said, I have this visual in my mind. I try to, put down layer by layer some sort of execution of that visual. If it's a poem, I used to just flat write them out one time, written, done, no drafts, just done. Very few poems had drafts, very few poems. I think before COVID-19, I would say probably 5 out of all the poems I've ever written have I ever revisited and rewritten or updated or changed or if I could say made better. I don't know if that's really true, but in my mind I thought, oh, it's better if I say it this way now. Very little rewriting though. That is not true with prose. With prose, I will just vomit out whatever and leave it for a few days and go back to it. And it takes me longer to come up with the final prose piece because I am too verbose. I talk a lot, I write a lot. I mean, I am long-winded is like the kindest thing you could say about my speaking and writing. So trying to have a piece of prose include everything that I want to say without it being 1,000 million pages long is a challenge for me. Distilling it down is hard. So depending on what I'm doing, what the final result will be, the process may be a little different. Nowadays, one thing COVID-19 did with my poetry, I think, is that effort that I was talking about, trying to find the right words that aren't too cliched or the cliche works in a way or whatever. That's been good for me as a poet, I think. I hope I'm writing better poetry. I'm not sure. I mean, I was looking at some of the poems more towards the end of the book where they get a little more hopeful and they're less, and I think they're better, I think they're good. So I don't know, processes, I just try to work through it, whatever it is, whether it's a poem or prose piece or a visual artwork of some form. It's that effort and the steps of the work to get to the final piece is probably not unlike most creatives. I don't know. Prose is hard because again, I feel like that first draft is like, it's got everything in it that I want to say. And then it's like, yeah, but it's 1,000,000 pages long. I can't do that, so no one's going to want to read that,
I feel you because it's I can write a piece and it will take me longer to edit it to where it's supposed to be than it did
Yes.
to write the piece.
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, I type pretty fast with one hand. I type with one hand, and I mean, I type pretty fast. I got it. Now, one thing I will do even while I'm writing is I will rearrange stanzas or paragraphs in poetry and prose. I'll write in the how it comes to my brain, right? I'll write
Mm-hmm.
how it comes out. But even as I'm writing, sometimes I'll be like, this belongs up there. This
Yeah.
belongs below that
Yeah.
stanza or that paragraph. And then even when I do that and I've got that draft or whatever, I'll go back and I'll be like, oh man, I got to rearrange all this. This line goes here. This line, So I mean, I've gotten better at allowing myself that editing before the final poem or prose piece. And being your own editor and proofreader is very hard. For one thing, you're going to miss a lot of typos because your
Mm-hmm.
brain thinks it's right what you've typed or whatever, and it may not be. But editing your own work is interesting, don't you think? It's kind of like this two-edged sword,
Mm-hmm.
because on the good side of the sword, you're making it better, a better fit to what you meant to say or what you wanted to convey, right? The sharp evil side of the sword is that your perspective is still from within yourself, right? You don't have, it's not like a true editorial perspective, because a traditional editorial perspective is some other perspective, not you, not the
Mm-hmm.
author, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so when you edit your own work, you're constantly walking on that sharp edge of that sword. It's like, whoa, or I guess you're walking in the middle of the sword, trying not to cut your feet on either side. I don't know how to say that metaphor. That doesn't work, but you know what I mean? It's a fine line,
Mm-hmm. Sure.
So, and sometimes I consciously try very hard to remove myself, Alys, the person who wrote, the author, that the author, from that piece, and look at it from as much as possible a critical eye of
Mm-hmm.
an outside person, an outside editor. I try to change my perspective, and sometimes that works really well, and sometimes it's just flat out impossible. I can't get away from myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but I do try, especially the last time I go through a manuscript before I turn it into volume 3, volume 4, whatever. I try very, very hard to look at it, edit it one last time, especially since I think it was I think this is the first volume 4, I think, is the first one that has an introduction. Oh no, Volume 3 has an introduction, because it was, how many years did it take me to get this one? Uh, yeah, I worked on Volume 3 for 6 years,
Mm.
and that's why I felt I had to write an introduction to it. And I continued that tradition. That's my new tradition now. I have an introduction to Volume 4. Because of COVID-19, I felt like historically I needed to explain what the heck this book covered, So, but honestly, I think it took me longer to write the introduction and edit it and edit it and edit it and edit it and edit it. I mean, I edited it for the final time the morning I uploaded it to the printer. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
just trying to not be too long-winded, but to definitely give enough information as to what I felt went into this particular volume. That's very challenging. Mm.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So, what is next on the artistic horizon for you?
Well, I do have those two paintings on my easel stacked up. One's covered by a towel, and then the other one's in front of it, to finish. I've got to finish those. And like I said, I've started volume 5 of Naked in Wonderland, and I think I have, let's see, this would have been anything I've written since April 24th. And I think I already have, 6 to 10 poems in there. So I feel like I'm
That's
getting,
great.
I'm getting more prolific, if you will, at trying
Mm-hmm.
to work writing into my daily life again and be inspired. I feel like it's going to be a kind of a slow climb out of that sludge of oh God, what do you call it? Like just not. There were times during that 404 days where I wanted to write, I wanted to paint, I just couldn't get off the couch to put it in kind of a quotes, get off the couch,
Mhm.
literally or metaphorically. I just couldn't do. You know
Mhm.
what I mean?
I
So
do.
getting away from the sludge of that experience and actually getting in front of my easel, actually typing up a poem or a draft of a poem or a memoir or something. And none of these books have any of my prose in them, by the way. That I have never put together a prose book yet. I need to because I've got a lot of stuff that I should self-publish. But anyway, so trying to get better at actually producing work is my challenge for this year. I hope I can meet that challenge successfully, but there are still days where I'm just like, now it's habit to not do something, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Time has no meaning for so many of us anymore. I mean, those of us who continued to have jobs, were lucky enough to have jobs and go to work and be able to do all that, time is real for them. But for people like me who, the thing that kept my at least since Luke was born, taking care of him Monday through Friday before COVID-19, that was my job, if you will, and that had time and meals and pick up and drop off times and everything, and then there were weekends. And since COVID-19, it's just like, is Monday any different than Friday? Is
Mhm.
Sunday different than Tuesday? Oh well,
Yeah.
Chris is home on Saturday and Sunday, but that's the only difference. It's just like time and not much meaning. So
Mhm.
making sure that I get some sense of time back as far as being creative is something I'm working on. I can't say I've quite gotten there yet, but I'm working on it.
Those are good goals. Yes, absolutely.
Coming up, the next part of our interview with artist and writer Alys Caviness Gober. This has been At the Roundtable with Alys
And Sarah E.
of Community Education Arts.
Our nonprofit organization is based in Noblesville, Indiana. You can find us online at CEArts.org. We'd like to thank James Weston for writing our intro music and for his technical savvy.
Join us next time
At the Roundtable.